Hello, everyone. I am Hailey Gamba, and welcome to the Hail Yes podcast. Holy crap. I can't believe it. We are here. We are on camera. We are doing things a little differently, okay? I am so flippin' excited for this next chapter. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I was a little bit nervous about doing this on camera and having you guys be able to see the podcast. And a little bit as to why is because honestly, I think that there are just more vulnerable moments able to be shared when you're like laying in bed with a microphone. I would like lay in my bed in my pajamas right before I would go to sleep and record a story time for you guys. And that just felt very easy. It flowed. And I have had an immense fear of doing that exact same content style here on YouTube. But here we are. So we're going to be able to have it to where you guys can see it. You can also listen to this podcast anywhere that you guys get your podcast. And I'm so excited to be here for season 2. Oh my God. Let's just give it a round of applause, okay? Like, I'm so freaking excited. We are facing our fears in 2025, okay? That is so important to me as a 28-year-old woman, which we will get into my summer. I can't wait to kind of give you guys little updates as to where I've been, what I've been doing. But this is 28. As a 28-year-old woman, I feel like it is so important for me to face my fears. Right before my birthday, I actually hopped on a plane for my best friend's bachelorette. And it was the first plane that I went on in literally like 11 years. I have been scared of flying for 11 years and have not been on an airplane. So honestly, this is the year of yes. This is the year of just doing things that I've always been afraid of doing. So this is another one of those things. But you know what? This is not that unique, as you guys know, or maybe you don't know. Maybe this is your first time seeing me. So if it is, hi guys, I am Hailey Gamba. I have been on YouTube for about 10 plus years now, and I've been doing content like this for you guys over there. But my podcast has become my baby so quickly. I found it to just be my place for unpacking very like personal things about my life and just sharing my tips and different story times with you guys. And it's just been my place to just grow a different type of community, a little bit more of a close knit, just very vulnerable, happy community. And my YouTube channel is also very wonderful. I love my community over there, but this is just a little bit different. It's a little bit more, I don't know, it's giving girlfriends on FaceTime. So I want to continue that. I want to still spread that same type of positivity here. And I can't wait for you guys to be a part of it. For those who do know me, welcome back. Hello, how are you? I am so happy you're back. I want to give you guys a little update on what's been going on in my summer because that's what we're here for. I want to give you guys the updates before we get into our topic. Honestly, guys, my summer has been crazy. And we'll get into that a little bit more probably later down the line in the next couple episodes. But I have found this summer to be so peaceful, but also so insane at the same time. It has been my most authentic summer. I have felt the most myself. I've been really enjoying my own company. I've been enjoying spending time with my friends and just going out and doing new things. Even better, my best friend just got married last week and I was a bridesmaid in her wedding. I just felt so much love surrounding me in that exact moment. I was standing up there watching her walk down the aisle and say her vows, and I just really resonated with so many of the things that she said. And I don't know, not that I feel like I'm ready for that chapter. I just really love being around genuine love. So that just feels very harmonious for this season of mine. Now, I want to discuss what this podcast is going to be about for those who are just listening and don't really exactly know me or the topics I like to discuss. So we're going to get into it. One of my favorite things to discuss is how to really just be a woman, how to embody your most feminine essence, how to be confident, how to date, how not to date, how to just live, how to be a friend. We're going to get into all of that during this particular podcast. And it's just my way of chatting with you guys like we were two girlfriends and we're just having like our most inner thoughts being divulged, but also we're giving each other practical tips and advice. So I hope that that is something that you're interested in, and I'm just so happy for you to be here. Now, when I was thinking about the first episode of season 2, I really sat with the idea for a minute, and there was a few different topics that I thought about, but this one really resonated. And it was my early 20s versus my late 20s. Now, yes, I just turned 28. My birthday was July 14th. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. If you are in your early 20s, it does get better. And for those who are already in their early 20s, you already know this. And even those who listen to me that are like older than 20s and they're like in their 30s or 40s, you guys have told me privately in DMs that you love being in your 30s, you love being in your 40s. So I'm not going to lie. I'm not afraid of getting older. And I've learned a lot about myself, about others, about how I like to move, about life since being in my 20s. And being that I am 28, I feel like my frontal lobe is definitely fully developed. I have lived a lot of life. And I want to share with you guys the very drastic difference between who I was at like 21 versus who I am now. So I want to get into it. And if it resonates with you, if it sticks with you, then listen, you get it. And for those who maybe had a different experience, I'm so happy that I'm able to share with you guys what I went through. And maybe you guys can take something from it anyways. So I wanted to split each talking point into like a section or a category. So we're going to first touch on image and how I presented myself in my early 20s versus how I present myself now. And it's completely different. I'm not going to lie to you guys. When I was in my early 20s, I was very carefree. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I had no personal style at all. If I liked something, that's what I wore. It could have been a rainbow top or a baggy pant or a crazy looking shoe. And honestly, I kind of love that about myself. I was just very like free and just doing what I wanted. But I do recall just not having personal style. It just wasn't something that I thought about. And it wasn't something that I cared about. I just wore what I liked. I also found that I had very ill-fitting clothing, but I didn't know it at the time. So something that I realized about myself as I've gotten older is that my self-awareness has become a little bit better. And I do know like, okay, that doesn't look good or that looks good. And it just takes time. It takes time getting to know yourself and getting to know what looks good on you. And, not everything just clicks right away. But yes, that was something that I really remembered about my early 20s was I was wearing a lot of color. I remember I wore a lot of colored wigs and I would have my hair cut different ways. I didn't know my makeup at all. Like I did not have a good makeup routine. I wore a lot of warm colors on my face. And I now realize after doing color theory and just seeing myself on camera for several years that cool tones look a lot better on my skin. So I do like to have like a warm tone here and there, but I love cool tone shadows and even cool tone blushes in a more neutral base. That's what looks good on me. And I love bright colors like red. Red is definitely my statement color with like dark hair. Back then, I think I was afraid of red. The color red to me felt old in spirit. If I saw red, I thought of like the color maroon, which there's nothing wrong with the color maroon, but that was the only red that I acknowledged. And I thought it looked terrible on me. Now I realize that there's other shades of red and hot cherry red or like a bright red, chef's kiss. And I also want to note that skincare became a priority of mine the older I got. When I was younger, I did not care about skincare. I don't know what it was. It wasn't something that I understood. I just thought, okay, I have bad skin. I'm going to wash my face. I'm going to put on a product and call it a day. I have invested so much more money and time in my skincare. I get hydrofacials now. I make sure that I'm doing things like for the texture of my skin. I'm using more retinols and serums that really work on my skin and create a more even layer. Because I now realize in my late 20s that I actually want to look good when I'm not wearing makeup. I want to look good when I wake up in the morning and I can just put on, oh, I love that. Like wake up in the morning, thinking about so many things. You guys know that, right? That's from Real Housewives of New Jersey. But when I wake up in the morning, I want a little bit of foundation or not even like a little tinted moisturizer, a little concealer and be able to go. Back then I could not do that. My skin was just a damn mess. So we have gotten better at pretty much everything when it pertains to my glow up. And I just found my personal style and my look a little bit more. Okay, the next category is confidence. This is huge. I think it's really more just about how I was able to validate myself. And in my early 20s, I'm not going to lie to you guys, I definitely didn't lack confidence. That's kind of how I started my YouTube channel in the first place. So I started my YouTube channel when I was 18. I really liked myself back then. I said, oh my God, I'm going to be the next big star. I'm going to be the next Carly Bybel. I'm going to be the next Andrea's Choice. Like those were my girls back then. And it didn't really pan out that way. It took me a couple of years to get my momentum going. And I ended up finding my own niche and my own style and my own swag. I say all that to say I was very confident in who I was and who I was becoming. A lot of it was blind confidence. I'm not going to lie to you. In my early 20s, it was me telling myself, you are going to be that. And I would constantly give myself that affirmation of like, this is what you need to be. And this is how you're going to do things in order to feel good. So that was something that I did in my early 20s. Now, when it pertained to things that would trigger me. So let's just say somebody were to like get in my face and be nasty to me. I noticed that I had a very short fuse and I was able to really bend how I felt about myself based off of somebody else's perception. That was something that I noticed. So I wasn't super anchored in my confidence yet. It was something that I was working on, but I still knew myself enough to keep persisting on and found my way later on, which we'll get into my late 20s. My confidence in my late 20s is phenomenal. I think that who I am right now is my favorite version of myself because I've embraced the good, bad, and indifferent about myself. I am totally okay with understanding my weaknesses because I know my strengths, and my strengths make me feel really good about myself. So my confidence now is more internal, where before it was a lot about how can I look, how can I present, how can I show, where now it's like, how can I feel? How can I feel about myself? So that is a drastic difference from my early 20s to now. It's an internal situation. It's an internal feeling of, oh my God, I love who I am. I love what I'm about. I love my creativity. I love how inspirational I can be. I love how well spoken I am. Like these are the things that I really give myself accolades for and I give myself my flowers for. And that is something that I really love because it means that I view myself from a different lens and a more genuine and authentic lens. And I also think that I don't really have the same jealousy or envy that I used to maybe have. I never really realized back then that I was a jealous or envious person. I used to view it as, okay, somebody has something that I want and now let me go get it. So I didn't necessarily use it for bad. Like I never used my jealousy or envy to hurt others. But I now realize I don't even possess those feelings at all because I have cultivated the life of my dreams all on my own, which takes time. So in my early 20s, I wasn't quite there yet. I was still living home. I was still grinding. I was still trying to figure myself out. Now I have figured myself out. I know who I am. I know what I'm about. I know what I'm good at. And I know how to make myself feel and look beautiful. So that's another reason that confidence is definitely within me. I'm not going to lie and say it's all internal. I definitely know how to make myself look presentable and make myself feel good walking every day. Next topic. I feel like this is like the most interesting topic or the most interesting category, and it's dating. Woof. When I tell you the difference between who I was in my early 20s and who I am now, oh my God, you couldn't pay me not $100,000 back then to tell me that I would be in this exact predicament that I'm in. You wouldn't be able to pay me because I wouldn't believe it. So let's go back a couple years. For those who don't know this about me already, you guys know, if you do know me already, that I used to make this my entire personality, but I was a relationship girly in my early 20s. So I was in a relationship from the age of 17 to 24. I was with the same person. And before I was 17, I was always in relationships. My viewpoint on dating back then was being with one person is everything. Devoting my time and my life to a man was my mission. I was essentially kind of a pick me because I loved the idea of being picked. I loved the idea of somebody choosing me, loving me, and being a part of my life. And I felt like if I didn't have a partner, I would probably die. I could not survive back then on my own, just like giving myself like the validation and the love. I would have crumbled and lost all of my security. That being said, I became single after 24 and I had to learn how to become my own best friend. I had to learn to romance myself. Wow, what a blessing that was. And I'm going to be so real with you guys. It was a transition. It was not easy at first. I think that I was faking it until I made it a little bit when I first went from being in a relationship to single, because you don't want to project some sort of like, oh my God, my life is over. Like I didn't want to put that in the atmosphere. So I was faking it till I make it because I really wanted to be secure in myself. I really wanted to love myself. Eventually, in time, I did. It's about 3 years after my breakup and I love my life. I love who I am. And it was a little bit of a transition and I made some rookie mistakes in the sense of when I started dating again, I thought everyone was just like my ex and everyone was kind and generous and was in it for the right reasons. And that was a rookie mistake. And that was something that I had to learn. So discernment was built. And I'm actually really grateful for this because when you are given everything too early, sometimes you don't realize what is out there and what you're dealing with in society. You also just don't know how to navigate having like a certain level of social skills and people skills because you only know that one type of situation. Once I went through my breakup and started dating and meeting other people because I became more social overall, it wasn't just about dating. It was about getting out there and socializing. I realized that a lot of people are fake. They don't know themselves. They're judgy. They're insecure. They come into your life for a season and not necessarily a reason. And that is just the way it goes. And I'm really grateful for that. Now, who I am today, I have really become so happy in my singlehood. I have found so much peace and comfort and tranquility in it all. And I think it really just stems from realizing that until I meet the right person, the wrong person will never bring me peace. So I don't want to just fill my time with wrong people just because I want a partner. It doesn't make sense for me. Where back then, in my early 20s, I think I would have been okay with being with the wrong partner if it meant being with someone. That is a huge difference from my early 20s to now. I have found true happiness and purpose being alone. And it's not fake, it's not forced, it's genuine, and it took time. Oh, and I also want to mention that when I was in my early 20s, I dated for marriage, and that was like my obsession. And even when I first became single at 24, that was the intention, right? I was like, okay, if I meet someone, can I see this person be my husband? Where I'm at right now, I'm not saying that I'm not dating for marriage, but what I will say is this. I'm okay with having some fun with people. I'm okay with enjoying someone's company and seeing where it goes. As long as they're bringing me peace and they're a good fit for my life, I'm not super obsessed with molding them into my forever. That to me feels like too much pressure, and it feels like I'm controlling a situation. What feels the most feminine and what feels like me really being in my essence is actually just seeing where things go and what things transpire to. Because you never know, somebody could really show up really great and then 3 months down the line not be great. And what are you going to do? Say, well, because I thought that they were going to be the one 3 months ago, I'm just going to stick it out? No way. I'm not doing that. I am not settling, not at this age and not any age beyond. Now, single-handedly, this has become the most important relationship in my life outside of family, which is friendships. And I want to kind of share the differences and be a little bit vulnerable with you guys about how I was in my early 20s versus now. I was a social butterfly my entire life. That's what got me through high school. I was never a schoolgirl. That was never my thing, but I got up early. I showed up to school. I did the part. I got my hair and makeup together. I wore a good outfit because I could not wait to see my friends. I was that girl in high school. So carrying into my early 20s, I was a social butterfly, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. My picker was off. I was not good at picking friends for myself. I liked who was cool, pretty, different, unique, which is great. I think that I've always had a little bit of an alliance with a girl who is misunderstood because I felt misunderstood in parts of my life. If a girl was problematic or did me wrong, I would either do one of two things. I would keep her around or I would completely cut her off and ghost her. It would create a very bad taste in my mouth for friendships, for closeness, and for like loyalty, trust, and all of those things. So I had a very toxic mentality around friendship, and I had a hard time keeping really close friends because if they did something that I didn't like, I would just completely cut them out of my life. And I was very focused on nurturing my relationship with my partner at the time, that I didn't really care about friends. I didn't see the importance in that. And now that I'm older, I realize how problematic that is. Fast forward to now, I am in a way different place with my friendships. Now, I've made most of my amazing, long-lasting friendships in my mid to late 20s. They have healed the best parts of me. That has changed my outlook on life, on friendships, and on relationships in general. A friendship is not supposed to replace a relationship with a man. And it's also not meant to be ignored when you get one. They are their own important relationship to nurture. And I have found the beauty in doing that. The girlfriends that I have made in my mid to late 20s have created such a peace in my life. I'm close with a lot of people, and two of my really good friends, one of them being an eldest daughter like myself, which helped me a lot because two eldest daughters being friends, chef's kiss. The reason why is because we've gone through the same struggles. We've experience what it was like to have the weight of our family on our shoulders because we had to lead all of our other siblings as an example. We were hyper independent. We had a lot of masculine traits, and becoming friends with someone like that really validated my experience, but it also allowed us to be soft with each other. And then my other really good friend is a middle child. And this is also a really great friendship to nurture and to have, because as an eldest daughter, becoming friends with a middle child is special because they're used to being overlooked. They're used to not being super important, and they're hyper independent in their own way. That is something that I can relate to, but not on the same level. So what I do is I feel like I can give back in that friendship in a different way and really show them what it's like to be nurtured, to be heard, to be respected, and to be seen. So those friendships have really done a lot for me and have really changed my perspective on relationships and friendships moving forward. Now, I want to discuss my last point, which I kind of labeled life decisions and just personality, who I am to my core, and the differences. Oh, God, bringing me back to my early 20s. I think a huge part of who I was created in my home because we don't know ourselves yet. So who we are is what was created under our roof. I was anxious. I was rigid. I was very obsessed with succeeding. I didn't know how to have fun. I did not understand the meaning of balance. I was very big on just being perfect. Not saying that I was, because I really wasn't, but I thought that I was doing the best I could. I was very hard on myself, and I just did not have a good grasp on my joy and my happiness. I really went through a lot in my early 20s, and I don't think I ever really spoke on it thoroughly, but when I bring my mind back, I think I purposefully blocked out a lot of it because it was that hard to go through. And it's weird because I was in a relationship, and at the time I was very happy in my relationship, but it just shows that when you're not happy with yourself, you're just not happy. And yes, other things can feel like an escape or maybe just feel like a soft place to land at times. But when things are going on within, you just can't escape that. In my late 20s, I'm at so much more peace. I feel so much less rigid. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm not a little bit type A. I am, but I know how to have fun. I know how to balance. I don't take myself so freaking seriously. I don't know if I ever told you guys this. When I started my YouTube channel, I remember I went through my Vine, I went through my Twitter, I went through my Instagram, and I deleted everything that did not feel professional because I was so afraid of somebody finding something, like if they were to scroll down when I was famous and see me looking like a hot mess, see me drunk, see me silly, see me stupid. That was like the biggest fear of mine. Now I look back and I'm like, damn, I wish I saved all those pictures and videos. They were so funny. Like, I just don't take myself so seriously. Like, when you know yourself and when you love yourself and when you are rooted in who you are and you're grounded and you know exactly how you show up each and every day, you're just not so particular about the moments where you're being silly, where you're being different, where you're showing up and showing out, okay? I love myself in every stage. When I'm sad, when I'm happy, when I'm partying, when I'm sleeping, I don't care what stage I'm in. I'm really proud of each moment because it just showcases the different parts of my personality. I'm multidimensional, I'm multifaceted. So I'm just not so much of a stick up the ass kind of girl anymore. It's not my thing. It's just not. So I have found that that has really helped me in just staying really grounded in myself, is not taking myself too seriously and just relaxing. And whenever I do notice that I start to get a little bit crazy and rigid, I'm like, pipe down, sweetheart. We're in our feminine essence. We are chilling. We are devoted to ourselves. We don't need to feel restricted. We don't need to suffer, and we don't need to demonize ourselves for our mistakes. So after I recorded my situationship podcast episode, which if you guys have been tuning in to the Hailey podcast season 1, then you guys know about my situationship podcast. If I had recorded that episode years and years and years ago, I probably would have scrapped it because I would have been so embarrassed for people to know that I entertained such a pathetic connection. Now I find it funny because listen, the whole point of life is to live and to learn. I'm not saying that I find every single moment of my life where I make a mistake funny and humorous, but it at least is a lesson, and it's at least a way for me to grow and expand and to learn. So that's kind of where I live mentally in that space. And it has given me a lot more time to just rest and have more peace. So I no longer bully myself for mistakes, and I no longer speak in absolutes. I don't give myself these like rigid timelines for when I need to do certain things, whether it's get married by this age or get a second house by that age. No, we are living, we are free. We want to create habits. We want to have discipline, but we don't need to be so rigid and self-obsessed and just be obsessed with certain things that we can't control. I'm not as much of a control freak now, which feels so good. I feel like getting rid of that stress is going to keep me looking younger. And I feel like I actually do look a little bit younger the older I get. Now, those are my discoveries from my early 20s to my late 20s. I'm so curious to what you guys relate to in this particular conversation. I know for me that the older I get, the more like loose, fun, and exciting I become. And I like it. Like, I don't know why. I'm sure that I'll change so many different times in my life depending on which stage I'm in. But right now, the fact that I'm single, that I do very well, that I feel like I look great, I love my friend circle, I love just what I'm about. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying this moment. I'm basking in it. And it just feels very like carefree and I'm not overwhelmed. Okay, so I want to introduce a new segment here on the Hail Yes podcast, what I'm calling Hail Mail, where you guys write in a question. I read it for the first time in front of you guys, and then we kind of go through the question together. So I have it in front of me. I have not seen it yet. By the way, I read it anonymously. I have been with my boyfriend for a few years now. He's kind, consistent, and checks all of the boxes on paper. But sometimes I catch myself wondering, is this it? It's not bad, it's just not magic. And I don't know if I'm just romanticizing something that doesn't exist or settling for something that does. How do you know if you're with the right person or just with someone who's been around long enough to feel safe? Not gonna lie, this question's a little triggering because it sounds like my life. It sounds like somebody who wrote it knew what I was going through at one point. The first answer I want to give is going to be short and sweet, which is that you'll just know. But for the people who are really vacillating and unsure, I want to give a more detailed response. One thing I really want you to do is to stop comparing your relationship to online relationships. They are showing their highlight reel. They are not showing the intricacies of their relationship. Especially when people talk about like what they will tolerate, what they won't tolerate. A lot of the times people are capping. They're lying. They're not actually dealing with these things. Now, not everybody is capping. Not everyone doesn't have boundaries and standards, but a lot of the people who say, oh, I would never go to Cheesecake Factory, I'll never do this, are BSing. Now that's a little bit like silly, but I want to kind of put that out there just in case that's been what's been weighing heavy on your spirit. When you are with the right person, it just feels right. A lot of the times you'll go through moments, peaks and valleys where you're going to be going through a moment that's difficult and you're feeling not so great in the relationship, but you still know, okay, this is my person and this is someone that I want to do things with. I remember somebody had said to me, one day you're going to have to go through some really difficult moments. Can you see this person being there for you and being with you for those moments in your life? And if the answer is yes, then that's your answer. So I think even in my own journey to finding a partner for myself, I think to myself, would this person be a good father? Would this person be a good shoulder to cry on when I bury my parents? Is this going to be a person that I can really call best friend? And that's something that I really want you guys to look at and to think about when you are evaluating your relationship. And yes, thinking about it and really just trying to figure out what you want out of life is so crucial. And a lot of the times, somebody could be really great for you, but the timing cannot be any worse. And I do believe that if the person is great, but the timing isn't good, that they're still not the right person, because those two things actually have to be important. So for me, time and person need to match. There have been moments in my life where I just was not ready to entertain a relationship. That's okay. Just because somebody's good doesn't mean that they're good for you right now. And that is something that I want you to think about. And that requires a lot of strength and resistance, but also where you are putting a lot of your faith in God, because you believe that what is meant for you will find you at the right time. Case in point. That is it. So for me, I believe that everything needs to make sense, and that's when your answer will become more clear. So really sit with that. Oh my God, guys, I can't believe it. We are at the end of today's episode, the first episode of season 2. I'm so happy. I'm so elated. Thank you so much for listening. And I just wanted to really kick this particular season off with a bang and talking about how important it is to look back at old versions of yourself and say, okay, I've grown. I've become better. And that's something that I've definitely done. And writing these things down actually really helped me. That's why I had my phone on my lap, by the way, as I was reading some of the things that I wrote. Not everything just lives on the top of my head, but I wanted to say thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being here. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Subscribe to the podcast, share it with a friend, give it a big thumbs up. Make sure to even write a review. 5 stars, please. 5-star review. We need to get this podcast out to more listeners. I am just so elated and happy to be here. And thank you again for tuning in. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, everyone. Mwah.
Pioneer.